And joining us now in the studio is criminal defence attorney and legal analyst Jami Floyd. Good afternoon, Jami. Thanks for coming in. Given the fact that it was impossible to ascertain the cause of death in this case, do you think that the defence have cast enough doubt in the minds of the jury by suggesting that this was a death by drowning?
Well, of course, it is extremely early in the case, but you've put your finger right on the biggest problem with the prosecution's case, because they've got the burden of proof, and they can't even prove a murder because the medical examiner can't show a murder. They only have a homicide here, and they've charged a first-degree murder trial and asked for the death penalty. And in the end, really, what the defense is trying to do first and foremost is save the life of Casey Anthony. Of course, they'd love an acquittal, but they've got their eye also on the death penalty.
And so by casting her in this role as the victim of relentless sexual abuse by her father, do you think that's appealing to the emotions of the jury?
I think so. They've got 7 women on the jury and 5 men, and they're very much aware of the emotional appeal of this defense, and they chip away with reasonable doubt at every witness that takes the stand.
And I guess the next obvious question is, do they then put Casey Anthony on the stand? She begins to cry as she recounts the abuse she allegedly suffered. That is even more impactful.
Well, it's always terribly risky to put your defendant on the stand, but generally we don't, because our defendants have terribly long criminal histories. This defendant has none, so she has nothing to answer for except the inconsistencies in the story she told in those 31 days when the little girl was missing. It's the defendant's choice whether or not to take the stand, but here I think Casey will have to take the stand because of the kind of defense she's mounting. I think we're going to see her on the witness stand.
The other witnesses already in this 3-day trial have talked about this 31-day period during which the child had disappeared and before the body was found. And a number of them have talked about the fact that this mother appeared completely undisturbed, undepressed. She was actually regularly attending a local nightclub. How do you think the defence goes about defending her with regard to her behaviour? Because if you or I lost a child, we would be uncontrollable, inconsolable in our grief.
We think we would be, and of course the prosecution will make a great deal. They already are, and they will continue for the next several weeks as this case goes on for 6, 7, 8 weeks to make a great deal of her conduct after the child disappeared. Conduct unbecoming a grieving mother does not a murderer make. And they are going to talk about the family dysfunction and her psychology. This is where her testimony becomes important. This is where the experts become important, and this is where reasonable doubt becomes critically important. Again, the prosecution has to prove that this mother with no history of abuse would smother this little girl with duct tape. It's as bizarre a theory as is the defense's theory. And when you have 2 equally bizarre theories, the jury will be instructed to take the theory that favors the defendant.
Fascinating, if tragic, case. Jami Floyd, thanks so much again for joining us.